No matter how full my closet gets, I swear I have nothing that I want to wear, which is why I'm super grateful for Armoire, because with their clothing rental membership, I get to have access to high quality, unique brands tailored just for me. All I had to do was take a 5-minute style quiz, and it was scary accurate with how much they knew my style, and by some kind of magic, it was delivered at my door within 2 days. If I want to try something new or swap out styles, I just send it. No laundry required. Best thing. Armoire is great for so many reasons. It can help define your personal style. It's super spot on. And also it's sustainable because I don't have to feel bad about if I wear an outfit one time and I just want to try something new. I can rent things, try them out, and keep swapping and not have to worry about waste. Plus, you're always going to have something to wear without hassle or clutter in your closet, which is what I really relate to. And no matter what occasion you have, whether it's a date or a work conference or a black tie event, you'll be the best dressed person in the room without even stepping a foot into the fitting room. This is fantastic because I've literally bought an entire outfit before just to go to one party. Armoire can also help if your body is changing, whether that's a fitness journey or during pregnancy. I know I've recommended this to a lot of the new moms that I know in my life, because your body's changing and you want to feel great and amazing. And one of my favorite things is that Armoire is women owned and led. They even spotlight women owned designers on their website. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That is up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/book talk. That's Armoire, ARMOIRE.style/book talk, BOOKTALK, to get 50% off your first month.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This spring, we're hosting a book club while we prepare our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Crown of Midnight.
This is Jac.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll be discussing one book from our Spring Book Club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide a flash analysis of each book as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This is part 1 of this week's episode, where we're discussing Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros.
Well, Amy.
So you finished this book today?
At this point, 14 minutes ago.
Okay.
I came up at work and I didn't have the time I thought I was going to have the time, and then I was like, oh shit, we're cutting this close.
Okay. What is the date of this recording? It is February 27th.
Yeah.
I finished this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because the book came out January 21st.
I started it before you too.
You did.
And then I just took a little break. And then once I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait until it's closer to recording so that like it's fresh for one of us. And yet one of us is going to remember better than the other, and it's not going to be me.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
This is a live recording for our Patreon Trophy
Wives and Emotional Support Cookies.
Damn, them too?
Yeah, them too.
Welcome. Okay, so we're back with Spring Book Club, even though we still have 3 more episodes to record of Throne of Glass. But, you know, here we are, getting things done. Amy.
Yes.
Describe this book. Hands up.
Shoot, I should have planned for this.
No, we let this happen naturally. Describe this book in 10 words or less.
Hide and seek with dragons.
You look like you're doing a little puppet show, putting each finger down.
The ending was no surprise.
All right.
10.
Wow. Oh, okay. Better than the second. I'm not mad, but have notes.
Oh, okay. So I also want to let our listeners know that this Onyx Storm was on our bingo card, but specifically we predicted
we would like it better.
We predicted that the general public would not enjoy it, and we would like it better because we thought it was better written.
I don't know what the general public feels because I've avoided it at all costs. Colleen, can you tell us what the general public feels? I have my notes, and there are things that I definitely feel like on a writing standpoint could have been done. That being said, I think on a writing standpoint, it was better than the second one.
Oh, yes. This is a terrible thing to say. I don't think it's hard to be better than Iron Flame.
How? Okay.
Oh, Colleen says some people aren't continuing the series after reading this. We did think this would be we did say this. It would either be make or break for a lot of people.
We polled our listeners and we asked everyone to kind of give their thoughts. We've had over 115 responses. So, I'm going to only read so many, but the general vibes for some definitely was that they don't know how this can continue for 2 more books.
Mm-hmm.
I think Colleen, even you wrote something like that, but like, they don't know how this can keep going. And one person, I'm surprised, like they said that this could be combined with book 2, which I was like, no, ma'am. I don't mean, I respect your opinion if that's how you feel, but sure. But I'm like, I don't know.
It can only be combined with book 2 if you take the first half of book 2 and combine it with book 1.
Yes. Sorry, I was doing math.
But you don't need math for that.
I was doing math. That's all right. Yeah. I mean, like things would have to happen. I just think book 2 needed a lot more work, and then, I'd be happy. I am okay with everything that happened in this book. I mean, maybe I will start reading comments and I'll be annoyed about it, but overall, I think because I just was so angry at Iron Flame, I just was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm having fun with this again.
I think it was fun, but when I stopped to look back at it, I have to ask myself, what was the point? If we think of it in the grand scheme of 5 books and the plot, it's maybe 2 points. Like, yeah, it's necessariness.
People have been thinking that we've been going really hard on Throne of Glass, so I was trying to be kind to start with. But yeah, no, there's some things where I'm like, what was the point of introducing certain things just to let it go? Like,
well, it's probably set up for book 4 and 5, but why do we want to stay around that long? Anyway, we do have to start with some good things.
I'm like, do we? I think we did. I started with a compliment. That's
better than Iron Flame.
I thought we were being nice, but when you say it like that, then yeah, maybe it's not so great. Okay, one of my compliments that I will give this is that Yarros does the work on teasing things out since book 1. And you can see what she's done with it in the way that she's like hidden little gems and stuff into the 3rd book. Yeah. So I think that takes a lot for consistency. I think that it's impressive just how daunting the cast is of characters, the lore. I mean, you have the humans, and then you have the dragons, and then you have their powers, and then you have the politics, and then you have the islands, and on a fantasy level, I think she did a lot to develop the world in this book, and this book became high fantasy, much more high fantasy for me.
I agree. I do think what Yarros has done with her world and expanding it and adding to it and adding outside perspective on the world that we're familiar with is very well done, and she does get points for consistency. You never, for me at least, I never read her books and feel like this feels off or misplaced or whatever. And her, like, even the island cultures and nations,
they're unique.
Yeah, they're very unique. I was blown away by the one that worships the luck god.
Luck one, yeah.
No, I don't remember the name of the god.
We're not gonna. There's too many names to happen. This book is my nightmare.
Yeah.
In general. But yeah, no, the luck one was impressive. What, like, in the, like, how ridiculous it was, but also believable. I think what's hard is just how much like we are getting a bunch of little snippets, right? And so we got one island and it's luck. We got another island and we find out about her hair. We get another island and we find out about his mom. Yeah, which I was like the most blip on the, I don't want to call it anticlimactic because a lot of shit happened, but it was like introducing to his mother and then we never addressed the issues from there on out.
Again, taster for book 4 and 5.
I'm hoping. I mean, he better have run home to mommy to make up for everything. I don't know. That's my compliment. What's your compliment?
I already gave it.
What was that?
The Luck Island was my compliment.
Well, no, because it's building off of my compliment, which was the world was good. Come up with your own compliment.
I think that she did a good job making me care about more of the secondary characters where I didn't necessarily feel that way before. So Riddick, Auric.
Yeah.
I really, really fell in love with those characters and she added layers to them, right? The fact that Auric is willing to sacrifice his identity for the cause because he knows that his brother will be the death of their entire continent is a big deal. And you're moved by his sacrifice and his willingness to participate. Riddick and the levels of A, he's flat out funny. But then B, he's like, I'm more than being funny. I really appreciated that and what he contributed to the story.
I agree. It's like, give any character that's like remotely mildly funny. And I'm like, I relate to them so much. But it's like, you know, I get what it's like to be a big personality and a jokester and then being like, hey, I'm actually skilled too. Although my friends have never questioned it. So, you know, what does that say about you, Violet? It is, I say that after texting you today about not knowing how to say edamame.
Edamame.
Anyway, my friends don't question my intelligence, just my ability to speak. I agree. Like, Riddick is just one of those characters that was so real and so tangible, and he grew from what we knew him before. And I will say, like, I think that what I have seen from online is that people have gone feral for Riddick. Yeah. And just some of the memes and his relationship with his dragon was hilarious. Of like the one scene where he was like, I got a bunch of itching powder and put it between his scales. And now he's just mad because I one-up him. And then he's arguing like, it doesn't count because we're on a mission. Like
That's a conversation you and I would have.
Yeah, that is 100% a conversation. Oh my God, I'm Riddick and you're my dragon. No.
Hey.
You're not my dragon.
I'm fierce. It's fine.
No, I mean, out of all of these... Sorry, now we're doing this.
Just don't say you're Khaleesi and I'm your dragon.
No, and that's why I got, like, gross thinking Blake Lively. You give me Mira.
The
older sister. Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. Which is, again, because I'm, like, still, like, wrapping up what happened in the last bit. But, okay, sorry. I'm like, because there's, like, that scene where she jumps into bed with Violet and she's, like, trying to get her to, like, you know, get out of her catatonic state. And then Brennan's in there and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I got her to talk, so clearly what I'm doing is much better. Yeah, anyway, I had to call you a dragon because I like almost lost it when the best friend died.
Oh yeah, I know. Imogen's best friend, Quinn?
I had to call you a dragon because the best friend went up to her and was like, "We're friends now."
Yeah, it was our story.
Oh no. Let's talk about main characters because right now we're just kind of like rambling. So let's talk about Violet. How did we leave off? How did we start with her? How did she progress? And how did she end?
Here's the thing. The majority of Violet's character growth happened in book 1.
Mm-hmm.
And has she grown is a question. Now, from book 2 to book 3, she's gone from anxiety, doubtful, to more confident and trustful. And Rebecca Yarros spoke about that in her interview, that it's really a reflection of her as a writer and her level of comfort on this journey, right? So I thought a lot about that as I was reading Violet. I thank God she was very solid and secure in her relationship with Xaden because I could not take any doubt on her part. So I did appreciate that. I did appreciate that she knew her worth. And I do believe her blind faith in not only Xaden, but herself to find a cure for him, because that's generally how our heroes think, right? And it's satisfying when that's not when they can't do that, because their fatal flaw is that they are too arrogant. They are too confident that they can win the day. I enjoyed her journey of discovering her father, but I don't know that I really cared about Violet. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Okay. What's interesting about Violet is her cleverness, I'd say, right? Because her intelligence was a big thing with book 1, because she was so smart, she should have been a scribe. She was so clever that she poisoned everyone. It was nice that they had a throwback of her poisoning people again, you know, so and I enjoyed that quite a bit. I think it's hard when you have a character that's so used to knowing so much and is so used to being clever to get the things that she needs out of a situation when she is so out of her element and knows nothing what's going on around her. They're island hopping. They don't even know how many islands are out there. She doesn't know how to outsmart people who don't have magic, who are not in her same playing field, right? I think it kind of, as a reader, we could potentially feel like we're losing Violet a little bit, because these things that Yarros spent time defining her as this are gone now. And that's a great question, right? I think that's a really good moment for a character to say, like for an author to say, okay, well, what if I take away these things from Violet? What if I remove all the things that make her her and make her kind of figure out what, like, squander and figure it out? I am fresh from listening, because we didn't read this book, and I can't land what she then grew into. Do you know what I mean? Because if those elements are taken away, then you're leaving room for her to grow into something new about herself.
Yeah.
And I can't figure out what that is.
Yeah, I feel the same. And I think that's what I was trying to get at when I was speaking, is this fact that I expected character growth when you take away the things that define her, the magic, the connection to Xaden. But instead, all we found out was that maybe she has a second signet. Or, or that she has she's able to draw a power where you're not supposed to be able to draw a power.
Yeah.
And that's it. Instead of the emotional, mental growth and maturity I would expect from having to rediscover who you are when what makes you special is gone.
I mean, especially when you get the moment when Adarna leaves, right? Because then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you were the special silver one who had a golden one. And, like what happens when your special dragon leaves? And we didn't get into that. Like, I almost wish we had brought that storyline up way earlier in the book so that we could, maybe even have her left, like stayed there somehow, in the islands, but because then I think that would have even driven home the point more so of, what are you if you're not special? And Violet has always been special.
Yeah.
Her intelligence has always set her apart. She was very confident with that. So because people might be like, she wasn't confident. She didn't think she was special. Yeah, in book 1, she knew she was smart as hell. And that set her apart.
Yeah, exactly. If not special, she was different.
Yeah.
Right? And in and of itself, that is empowering in the right circumstances. And for Violet, it worked.
Yeah, I can see potentially why Yarros thought it needs to make sense for Adarna to leave. Because her depression and everything, and being so hurt by not being able to get to to talk to the other dragons, needed to be the thing that wrecked her to be okay to leave, right? Because I wouldn't have believed if Adarna had stayed on the island and was like, okay, bye. That would have to, like, again, then are you willing to sacrifice things on the island? Are you willing to have the failure kind of happen up top, and the rest of the time she's pouting, or struggling with it? Like, what are the movements? But I would have liked to see Violet truly lose more of her identity to then figure it out. And what we got more from her identity is more of, I love you, Xaden. I love you so much. God, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful, and I love you so much, and I will never leave you. And did you know that he's the most beautiful man I've ever seen?
Yeah, honestly, the number of times she's like, oh, God, he was so fucking beautiful. I'm like,
so
we know. Stop it.
So beautiful. You know what? Not even Theo James. Maybe I would, being like, whenever I watch a movie, I'm like, he's so beautiful. But like, if I had been constantly sleeping with him and then saw him every day, I think it wouldn't be an every 5 seconds situation.
Let's call it what it is. Xaden is Violet's Roman Empire.
Oh, don't let a man be a Roman Empire.
Yeah, see, exactly. Growth was necessary.
Yeah, I really would. have liked her story to have been separate from him. And you almost get that at the very end when Brandon says, what is your bottom line? You cannot choose everything. You get one mission. You get one goal. That is it. What is the thing that you are going to choose, and what is your bottom line? It was almost meaningful if for the fact that we knew and had been ingrained in us that Violet will always choose Xaden above everyone else.
I wish the circumstances had been different in the sense that I wish it had been you have to choose Xaden or Andarna. You have to choose Xaden or
her sister.
Taryn. Or her sister, right? I needed the stakes to be higher because until then, Violet's going to continue to do what she always does, which is I can do everything. I can save everyone, right? Yeah. I needed her to really get to the point where sooner, not at the end of the book, I needed it to be much earlier in the book where she realizes I have to choose. I cannot save everyone.
Yeah, and that would have been a great lesson to learn. I don't know if that's the kind of lesson that an author wants the readers to walk away with of like, you can't save everyone, but at the same time, you know, you're drilling in, Yarros, that this is a war college. These are war times. This is not a situation where you can go and do whatever it is you want and try to save everyone and have a happy ending. There's going to be sacrifices that are made. So we need to see Violet come to that realization older. I mean, like prior in the book. And again, I think someone might argue of when they're on the Luck Island, right? Yeah. She and the one guy gets killed and she goes over and has to, you know, bow and thank the guy for killing them. That was a moment of like, well, you know, she pulled it together. She had to do it, you know, go there. She learned that lesson. And it's like, but she didn't, you know, like, and she says that she was in shock and she got herself and she did it. You know, that would have been a moment to have learned. She just kind of held that guilt more so in her heart.
You know, I think that it was all held off because Yarros didn't want to tell us about the prophecy, essentially, about Violet and why she was not fully dedicated, right? Because she still has two directions she could go in, and we don't know which one she's going to choose. She's this constant unknown. I would bring it up in the middle of the third book. That's like the true climax of the story. Yeah. Middle of the third book.
Middle of the third. Yeah, I agree. Also, make it more clear. I like someone lay it out. Give me a good old fashioned someone, you know, crone in the corner saying it correctly versus a general summary. I need verbatim situation because I'm just like the general gist is not even just going to save everyone, just that her path can go either way, right? What did I tell you when we talked about Fourth Wing and I said there's going to be a prophecy about her, and it's going to be the kind of prophecy of when the penis and the vagina come together, then the whole realms will be saved. Am I getting too far off?
You actually re-listened to our Fourth Wing episode, and I did not, so you remember better than me.
No, I'm just saying in general, like, it's just funny that it's a prophecy was coming, has come into play, and the prophecy had to do with Xaden.
When you have 5 books, what other tropes are you going to bring in? Like, you have to find new tropes. Sorry.
We're bringing them in, but let's get more tropes. We're going to have like a hockey trope soon where all of a sudden Violet joins a hockey team. Xaden is in the other team.
He's the goalie on the opposing team.
Right? What is she going to do?
Excuse us while we hydrate, and you listen to this ad. I regularly need to go to the doctor, but also regularly avoid going to the doctor because either my work schedule doesn't allow me to, an important meeting comes up that I have to reschedule my doctor's appointment, or quite frankly, I can't get to the doctor's office at the time that it's actually open.
The way I avoid going to doctors because I am too anxious to schedule anything is insane.
So many people struggle with scheduling just because they don't want to pick up the phone, myself included.
Fortunately, that's where ZocDoc comes in. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment.
We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more.
Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. This is great because I am having such sinus issues this year and I have no idea who to talk to about it.
Stop putting off that doctor's appointment, Jack, and go to ZocDoc.com/booktalk to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today.
That's ZocDoc.com/booktalk. doc.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK.
ZocDoc.com/booktalk.
Amy, you know when you're done reading a really good book and you just have an itch to scratch? You have a trope, a theme, a genre, something that you just really want to get another good story. Fortunately, with Galatea, you have over 1,000 stories to choose from shifter romance to sci-fi, from thrillers to bad boy billionaires, forbidden love, werewolf series, alpha fantasy, rom-coms, and so much more.
Galatea is a reading app where modern book lovers can dive into a library of immersive stories with sound effects, vibrations, and real-time pacing that adapts to your reading speed. Every scene comes alive.
Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, and new chapters drop daily. So there's always something new to explore.
Over 30 million people have already made Galatea their go-to. Join now to escape the ordinary and indulge in stories that make you feel everything.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to galatea.com/booktalk.
That's GALATEA.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK to indulge in unlimited stories for even less. Galatea.com/booktalk.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Speaking of Zayden, or, the internet's number one shadow daddy.
No, he's not my number one shadow daddy.
Hashtag not my daddy.
No. I need a bracelet.
Hashtag not my daddy. Yeah. Okay, so tell me about not your daddy. You didn't like, so let me remind you of what happens when we covered Fourth Wing. You said, I don't like him. Jac, don't date him, as if I had an option, but we threw that out there. And then in Iron Flame, you said, fuck him. I don't like him. So nothing has changed. You still do not like the shadow daddy.
No, you know what? I think what it is at the end of the day for both Zayden and Violet is they're just so selfish. Maybe that's the product of being in your young 20s, and those are the protagonists, right? I can see from a writing perspective how maybe Yarros feels like she's doing something different because, Rhys in ACOTAR is always about the greater good and not necessarily about doing the selfish thing. It just didn't land for me. The fact that they continue to choose each other and fuck the consequences.
Yeah.
Especially when he's Venom and could become worse. I didn't buy it. You know what the other problem is? The other problem is you showed me an image that compared their actual heights. So every time there was a sex scene, all I could see was this man having sex with a child.
It was concerning.
It was so off-putting every time there was an intimate scene because there would be descriptions of I surged to my toes and kissed him. And I'm like, babe, you're too short. You can't reach.
You cannot reach onto your toes. So last night I was trying to...
Also, wait.
No, go for it. You're on a roll.
Also, when she says this sign of his arousal pressed up against my belly, I'm like, no, it's between your boobs. Your belly is too far close to the ground for that.
I need to... Okay, so my roommate, she's 5'5", or no, she's 5'3". I'm 5'8". I went on my tiptoes last night pretending I had a penis because I was writing a dance scene and I'm like, I need to see where this lands. I want to go get my heels and measure us and again pretend to have a penis and then see where it lands on her. Yeah. I don't know if it feels good to have because I'm on the taller side, right? And I've definitely felt guys,
pressed up against you.
It pressed up against me. And even when they're taller, like, it's still not boob level, you know, like, I just can't imagine it being hot, being like, ooh, baby, I love it when you rub on my sternum, you know?
I guess it's an easy titty fuck. Like, I don't know.
You don't even have to move. You just kind of have to, like, oompa, loompa, doopity doo. I've got a boobies just for you.
Anyway, you ruined sex in this series for me, which is fine. Because I it's not like I was really enjoying their chemistry anyway, because I just don't give a shit, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So Xaden, there's a lot to cover. I'm gonna start from the top. So Xaden and Violet's selfishness. You know, it's a defining thing in their characters, right? The trope that Yarros is going for is, I would let the world burn before it hurts you, right? The thing with Xaden is that he literally has a kingdom that he could, or territory that he's willing to let burn, right? He's literally willing to let it all go to hell just for her. And that's part of the charm, and that's part of it. You do that, you don't get much development, right? You know what I mean? There's no kind of mutual understanding that it becomes a, look, I love you and you are everything to me. This territory, we need to save it. He helps it unwillingly. He goes into being a duke and he helps out where he can. But the bitter end, it's about what can I do for Violet more than anyone else. It's hard for me, as swoon version and swoony as that might be, it's hard for me to root for a character that doesn't have much empathy beyond that, other than I am so obsessed with this one person that I'm in love with, and both of them are so obsessed with each other. For people who are so obsessed with each other, he just really won't talk to her. I was happy to see Violet be with her friends. I was happy to have her have time without him, to really see her be able to like bloom and blossom in her own way outside of him. So, you know, and I know people are like, you said that didn't happen. I'm like, you know, we can have different things.
She had personal growth, but we got to see more on the page. Yeah. The growing and intensity of the trust and bond between her and her classmates.
And that's needed, because then all of a sudden it's, okay, yes, she's obsessed with Xaden, but she has other things going on too, which, okay, cool. I'm happy to see that. Xaden has no one that he's really talking to. They established that he's cut everyone off. You know, I understand being loving and being loyal and just saying, you know, I love you so much, I'm here for you, don't cut me out, don't leave, and all this stuff, but like, just give her an inch, man. I don't know. It was hard to just root for someone who, and I don't even think it's because of him being Venom or Vernon, whatever it's called. That's his personality. Like, that is who he is. He is I will cut everyone off and be on my own.
Yeah, and I think I completely agree what you're saying. And for me, he is who he was at the start of book 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if not the start, halfway through book 1. There has been no development. And after 3 really long books, don't you think we deserve a little bit of change? Even if it happens off screen, right? In Mist and Fury, and I'm sorry to those who are mad at me for continuing to compare Xaden to Rhys, but Rhys was an ass. And he adapted and changed because that was who he needed to be for Feyre to fall in love with him.
Absolutely.
Violet just takes his shit. So never forced to change. He's never forced to adapt. To me, that's what's problematic, and that's what feels like young love. And not necessarily,
I will be here no matter what happens to you. You can push me away all you want, and I will continue to be here, and you can just wallow in your own self-pity, but I will never leave you. And it's just like, that's not, you know,
it's not healthy. And I think that maybe at the end of the day is what bothers me, is that this series is so popular. So many people are reading it, you know, and good. I'm so happy people found something they love and that they're reading. But why are we romanticizing an unhealthy relationship?
You know, I will make the argument that there is no healthy relationship within Romantasy, because we have our tropes that we're leaning into. So it's not like we're sitting here saying, well, Rhys and Feyre were super healthy. Like, no, they weren't. I agree with what you're saying, Amy. I'm just getting ahead of anyone else who's like ready to bust out their phone and be like, actually, none of them are great. I agree with it, though. It's the fact that it's not healthy, but it's the type of not healthy that doesn't help the plot. You know, like, if it was an unhealthy, but we're helping the plot move along, then, you know, I'll forgive a little bit. But it's the kind of unhealthy that is just, we're having the exact same conversations that we did in book 1. I want to be with you. No, I can't. This is bad for you. I don't care if it's bad for me. I still want to be with you. I love you. Don't look at me. Don't touch me.
Right.
Around and around and around.
I can change you. I can change you. I can change. No, you
I
can't.
can save
Violet.
you. I can save you now. Now it's I love you. Don't leave me. I love you so fucking much. You can't tell me what to do. Oh, he didn't tell me what to do. He just wanted to kiss me. It's just the same conversation happening. That is the exhaustion. And for a book that is romantasy, where it's kind of like the percentage wise of what's fantasy, what's romance, it really is almost like 50-50. So the actual plot things that are happening, yes, there is plot, but let's talk about the plot that happened. It was Venom are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's giving information. There's a lady Venom that's trying to talk to Violet. She talks to Violet. She dies. The plot, like, not much actually happened in the storyline of, like, here is the mission that we're doing and we're trying to stop them. It was just kind of this outside force, right? Now, the other side of the plot is, okay, we have to find these other dragons. We have to find a cure. This is the other plot that's going on. And then that just kind of, that ended when they didn't succeed. Plot-wise, me saying that was 50% of the book, I think is being generous.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I completely agree with you. So that brings me back to something I said earlier, which was, what was the point?
Yeah.
The point was Yarros got to build out her world more.
Yeah.
That was the point.
Yes. She had to build her in the lore and everything else, which she nailed the lore and the world.
Yeah. Like, if that was the point, she achieved it. Mira's mad at her sister now. Okay.
I mean, is she now? I think she's in this book?
I guess they resolved it with her dad. Like, Mira was mad about the dad.
Annoyed for a second. She was just kind of like, why did dad leave you books? I'm going to go talk to our grandma. Now I don't care.
Oh, the other point, we now see that Yarros is willing to go into other perspectives other than...
But then what was the point of that? And maybe there will be. Maybe there will be some point in the next book that will be like, wow, here are some, these were clues. I will have enough faith in Yarros to say that there are clues in those perspectives. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, what was the point of that? Because, smarter people than I will be on the internet doing the sleuth thing and they'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, those other perspectives were interesting, and to save it for that last battle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Imogen's perspective was very moving. I thought if you wanted to write a tragedy, you did a great job, Yarros.
Was she in love with her best friend?
That's what I was like, because she was into Garrick, but the way it read, I think Imogen was in love with Quinn.
Because at first I wasn't. When I read it, I was not like, it's me and Amy, because I was like, well, no, she's in love with this woman, and that's talk about. I'm like, well, that's heartbreaking. But then at the very end, then it did kind of end like they were friends, and then I was like, wait a minute, now that's sad.
It read like unrequited love.
That's what it did at first. I don't know if that was the point of it or not, or if we picked up, or you and I just are like, Sapphic, but. Yeah, I mean, like, that was a great storyline. Here's, not even a storyline, a blurb, right? Here's my note. And this is a personal note. This is not like me saying that Yarros is doing a bad thing here. So, please don't take offense, people. But I personally struggle when there's so many characters. Because I can't remember a single... I struggle enough in life. But, like, when the other person... Quinn, right? The one who died. I don't remember Quinn. Who the hell is Quinn? And then there's the other one where, like, the other guy started getting the shadow powers. Who is that person? I don't know who that person is. Like, they're throwing names kind of left and right. And sometimes they sound familiar. Sometimes they don't. And it just, like, this is hard because this is the nature. Like, you're setting up a war college. There's going to be people. You're not going to just talk to the same 3 people and that's it. But it ends up kind of, for me, I get really lost in the names and lost in the who does what situation.
Yeah. I think I kept better track in this book than I did in Iron Flame. I think I had a harder time in Iron Flame. So it didn't bother me because this is the 3rd book. That we've had. So it's kind of like Harry Potter, like you pick and choose who you remember. After so many books, you kind of just, you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, right, we were moved by the death scene of Quinn because we care about Imogen, not because we really know who Quinn is, right? Yep. And I think the same is for, what's Kat's boyfriend's name?
Begins with a T.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're really hurting to not just.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like, it was really, really sad when he died, but it was really because he was so sweet to Kat and helping Kat move on from Xaden. And
then she cannot catch a break.
She really can't.
No.
Yeah.
Before we get into listener comments, I will say, like, I'll continue to read it. I didn't have a bad time with it, but I was just so scarred from Iron Flame that it didn't take much to make me too happy. But overall, I was okay with it. I'm not like, I'm not going to continue reading the series anymore.
I think what saved this book for me was that the world building in this book felt like book one, where it was like, this is new and exciting.
Yeah. That's a
good point. And I think that really saved the plot for me, that we got to go and experience this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the development of Riddick and Auric saved this for me.
Helped a lot. Yes, yeah. I agree.
I think the getting to see more of the dynamics between Violet, Mira, and Brennan helped. But I don't really care about our protagonists.
And they're making it harder for me to root for them when they're just going in freaking circles of it.
Yeah.
And it's, okay, the spicy scenes, I will say, one of the best part in Iron Flame was my crown, my chair, my woman. And then he eats around on the crown, right?
On the throne.
On the throne, yeah. You have that. That was a great moment. I personally feel like you didn't have the same thing here. Someone sent a note being like, just wait for chapter 28. And I had just passed, and I was like, okay, I'm excited. And then I was like, wait, I'm on 34. What was I excited for? And it's like, I had sex on the bed. Sometimes it read the sex, what makes it exciting is that it's sex rather than hot sex. Yeah. Does that make sense? I'm just, okay, how do I describe it? The sex scenes were good. I enjoyed the sex scenes. I had fun with the sex scenes, but like, they had sex on the floor. Good job. Or like he tied her hands and ate her out. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. That's what he should be doing.
He had her hands tied and stuff, and but then it kind of goes by quickly too and everything. And I think it reads as someone who is describing sex, and for me, I've read a lot of shit. I don't want to say I've done a lot of shit, but like, I'm just saying that I think that there's more, when some of the hard things is when people talk about spice, it's a sex scene, but is it particularly raunchy? No.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Other than the fact that I couldn't get over the visual of their size difference, it felt like sex for the sake of sex. And it also felt like this is going to gross you out, and I'm sorry, you can skip ahead 30 seconds. But it felt like Rebecca was just kind of writing about the sex she has when her husband comes home from a tour.
Yeah.
Because he's a military guy.
Yeah.
And I just didn't care.
I'm going to quote someone else, so this is not a me thing. This is from another person who is a former Mormon, who spotted Yarros as a former Mormon. I didn't even realize it. But she said it reads like a person who was Mormon who wrote this, who is, I'm so bad because we have sex. And it's like, sex isn't bad. You're not breaking any rules here. It's encouraged,
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. That's spot on. I understand as a former Mormon, right? The fact that you grow up so secluded, sheltered, so much abstinence, and then you unleash yourself, but you don't actually know if it's going to be good or bad, if your husband's going to be good or bad. Like, just because you enjoy sex doesn't mean you're a badass.
That's what it is, because like everyone should enjoy sex. Yeah. To me, that's a default. You should be coming.
That is a fundamental right.
Exactly. Like, that is your God-given right to come. That is the bare minimum is orgasming, right? Or bare minimum is, because I know a lot of women struggle with that, the bare minimum is a partner who seeks your pleasure. Yeah. That is the bare minimum. This reminds me of such a side story. I once had a friend who was also Mormon, and her and I both had sex for the first time around the same time. So she got married. I did not. And, and we were talking about, sex and stuff now that, like, since her and I had both had sex. And she was like trying to be like, well, my husband, he was laying down and then I touched his leg and massaged his leg and then he came. And I looked at her being like,
that's not normal.
Well, I mean, it is if he's never, had any practice, but I'm like, that's
he's
not
a virgin.
I'm like, that's not hot. And I just kind of be like, what? What is that?
Right. It's not empowering the way she thinks it is, right?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I just want to confirm, how tall is Violet Sortingale? So Violet is the height of, I'll bleep out her name, is the same height as 5'3".
That's what I thought.
Okay. I was talking to our friend and she was telling me, and I was talking about the height difference in sex. And then she was telling me that she was like, yeah, like she once was with a guy who was 6'1", and she was like, it's obvious. She's like, the height difference, it's weird. She was like, even she was like, especially a missionary, you are, he's doing his thing. And she was like, and I was like at his nipples. Like she was like, it wasn't much. Now that was 6'1". Violet is her height. Xaden is 6'5".
It's gross.
And like, so now you just extend 4 more inches and now you're coming up to his stump, like his belly button, his sternum.
Yeah. His rib cage.
And like, so then I was asking her, I'm like, so what did the guys have to do? Like really hunch over? And she's like, I never asked about their backs, like about his back. Like, well, I need to do research. Can you let me know? But it is definitely okay. Sorry. Colleen says, I hope the height difference isn't that big in the TV show. It'll be too jarring to look at. And the thing is, it won't be, because it is jarring.
No. There will be a big height difference when they're zoomed out.
Yeah.
But when they're talking to each other, she'll be standing on a box and they'll be like pretty close in height, because that's how the magic of the film industry works.
And that's showbiz, babe. So now let's go into listener thoughts, because we have so many. Okay. Couldn't type out my whole question on the story, but based off what we've seen of Xaden previously, do you think it was realistic for him to keep the venom instincts at bay for as long as he did?
I've seen a couple of those. Yeah.
That was a great question.
No. Was that Yarros' attempt at character development for him?
Maybe. The thing is, we know from Xaden is that if Violet is in remote little bit of danger, he is going to lose his ever-living shit. And he does at one point, and then he stops and he's like, it's been 73 days. We can now fuck. And that's his goal is, wow, if I can just hold out for sex, if I can hold out for this many days, I can have sex. And that's his...
And I won't turn evil.
And that's his development, where it's like, ooh-rah, go, good job, you.
That also weirdly feels very Mormon-esque for some reason.
It does.
It feels like a repentance process.
Can you please explain repentant process? Because it is, I thought of that too.
I mean, but repentance looks different depending on your religion.
But like in the general idea of you do something very wrong and there's some kind of penance that you pay, right? In Catholicism, it's like, 10 Hail Marys and you're done.
We're not supposed to call them Mormon anymore, but we're going to call them Mormon because that's what people understand. There's no penance. We don't do the 10 Hail Marys or whatever, right? You're just supposed to not do it again. You're just supposed to try to be better and just not do it again. It felt like he's like, yeah, I've repented. I'm good to go. I can do it. Like,
and I won't do it again. And I won't do it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it. I healed.
Yeah.
The power of your vagina made me better. Oh my God. Someone get that woman a prize. Like, that's incredible.
What though, it's reverse magic dick, right? Syndrome.
I got the magic vag. Yeah, it's rather than dickmatize, he's vagmatized, I guess. I mean, I think that's a great question. I'm gonna let them know that was a great question. That's a great question. We shall answer. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. Stick around for part 2, which airs on Thursday.
We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. If you'd like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss later this spring, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener thoughts and submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye. Amy, when you're done reading a really good book and you just have an itch to scratch, you have a trope, a theme, a genre, something that you just really want to get another good story. Fortunately, with Galatea, you have over 1,000 stories to choose from shifter romance to sci-fi, from thrillers to bad boy billionaires, forbidden love, werewolf series, alpha fantasy, rom-coms, and so much more.
Galatea is a reading app where modern book lovers can dive into a library of immersive stories with sound effects, vibrations, and real-time pacing that adapts to your reading speed. Every scene comes alive.
Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, and new chapters drop daily. So there's always something new to explore.
Over 30 million people have already made Galatea their go-to. Join now to escape the ordinary and indulge in stories that make you feel everything.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to galatea.com/booktalk.
That's GALATEA.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK to indulge in unlimited stories for even less. Galatea.com/booktalk.
The search for truth never ends. Introducing June's Journey, a hidden object mobile game with a captivating story. Connect with friends, explore the roaring 20s, and enjoy thrilling activities and challenges while supporting environmental causes. After 7 years, the adventure continues with our immersive travels feature. Explore distant cultures and engage in exciting experiences. There's always something new to discover. Are you ready? Download June's Journey now on Android or iOS.